Hello, welcome back, everybody, to another year of the Sunday Podcast.
I'm Ollie Lum.
And I'm Matt Seddon.
Back in 2025 for our 5th season. You can expect more of this.
He's claiming that he was ill before the semi-final, whatever. But, you know, I just feel like at that point he was just looking for attention.
And some of this.
Elio normally say, no human is limited. So I can't limit myself, or I can't just say I can do.
As well as event coverage around all the major races on the UK circuit.
And if you're a fan of the pod, please give us a rating and review on your preferred podcast streaming service.
And if you want to stay up to date with all the latest news, give us a follow on Instagram at Sunday Podcast.
As always, thanks for listening. See you next time. And we hope you enjoyed the episode.
Hello, welcome back to another episode brought to you by sportshoes.com. As always, what another great week to be a distance running fan. Diamond Leagues coming left, right and centre, and Fast Times coming left, right and centre as well, with a few nice performances in there from Brits and some interesting races as well, Matt. Where do you want to start? Should we start with Paris last night?
I think you have to, mate, don't you? The Diamond Leagues were delivering on all fronts this year. Those Scandinavian Diamond Leagues were incredible. Rome the week before them, and then now Paris as well. They've just all been just so good, even Rabat and stuff. So yeah, there hasn't been a bad Diamond League, I don't think, this year.
Do you think that's down to Grand Slam, mate? Do you think they've Diamond League have thought, right, we've got to put some pressure on these athletes to run quick, get these wave lights going fast? Don't know, but they're paying good money and getting good paces. Who knows? Because they seem to have responded, right?
Yeah, I think the big one, which is actually quite obvious to me that a lot of people overlook, is just it's the weather. Like all of these, recently, the Scandinavian ones, the weather's just been incredible. And, we saw it on Wednesday night, what good weather can do to track races and how fast people can run. At the BMC on Wednesday, there's St. Mary's. I wasn't there, but it definitely from the outside looked like a fantastic meet, credit all involved. And, there were some ridiculous times, people running very, very fast, big lifetime bests achieved. And I think the weather is a big factor. And obviously Grand Slam, the weather at all of their meets, whether it be wind or just super hot or cold or rain or whatever, has actually just been or was very, very poor. But you are right. Like in comparison though, I think obviously Grand Slam, counts that LA one, but that's Grand Slam's first year. Diamond League's been going 15 years. Before that, it was it like the Golden Leagues and stuff. And so it's been going a lot longer and there's just a lot more history. And I think, we're just seeing that basically that these meets are just so much bigger in stature and it's going to be tough to compete when they have a long history of fantastic performances, meet records, legends who have run on these tracks, and the local crowd. They look forward to these meets every single year.
Yeah, and none more so than Paris, it seems. Obviously, the French crowd going crazy last night. So let's start with Habs. 3:27 to win that 1,500 meters. We didn't expect that, did we, mate? I think we expect fast times, but 3:27. Me and you were going through the all-time list, and actually when you kind of put some of the performances on there these days, they don't seem as impressive as maybe they did a couple of years ago, but it's an outrageous time, isn't it? You've got 6 guys there, sub 3:30. And I think it's fair to say a lot of big names missing when you're talking about who we expect to be in and around medals, who we expect to be in and around like the top 8. So there's a lot of names in play come Tokyo, if these guys can hold form, if these guys can survive the rounds.
Well, this is it, right? These guys have got to deliver for me because, Habs and Koech and all the others in that race, as well. Like, you look at the men who have run sub Rouge, Lagat, Kiprop, who obviously did his bit, also banned for EPO. Yeah, Morcelli, Silas Kiplagat, Carl Hocker, Josh Kerr, Goose, like these guys have all gone and got medals at various world championships, and they've been legends of 1,500 meter running, really. And if they're not legends, they're current, like the likes of Kerr, the Goose, Hocker, and they're all kind of getting global medals currently. So I think they've just got to go and deliver now. Like, it was an incredible run. Habs is having a great season. Koech is kind of coming out of nowhere a little bit, but I guess that happens when you're 18. Obviously, we haven't. He did World Juniors last year. I think he was sort of did the 800 and stuff, and that was one of his best results. But he's this year's. That race was just crazy for him. He's chopped off loads, but we have seen it before with these young Kenyans. Can't remember the previous guy held the record, the world under 20 record or whatever. Anyway, he disappeared off didn't disappear off the earth, but he didn't deliver in that same in that same way on a championship level. So I think it's very easy to get these freak performances, even more so now. And yeah, we're just at the point now where we got to see these people back it up, but it's great to see so much depth.
Yeah, and obviously Mills in third, 3:28, sublime, right? But from a 12:46 guy, maybe that's what we expect from a 15:5 guy anyway. And does this look? Me and you've been saying he needs to focus on the 5. That's his best event. He needs to go and drill that. But does this change anything for him or for you?
I think it probably, for Mills, I don't think it changes anything because he's always backed himself as a 15.5 guy anyway. And he's probably known that he's got this 1500 in him. Whether it be in training or whatever. But I just think, these guys, they close in. I would love to see them race, an out-and-out race against the likes of, those NCAA runners. I would love to see them in a 3:45 race against Ethan Strand, against Nate Green, against these guys who can literally run 50 high, 51 for the last lap. And obviously, there's an argument here where you have to have the sort of 5K pedigree to negotiate the rounds now to get to a championship final, which is a fair point. But I still think a large part of 1500 running. What's interesting is when you watch these Diamond Leagues, and the same in the women's 1500 and a lot of the events, there is obviously, this might be a bit wrong of me to say, but there's zero decision making during these races. And I don't think people appreciate how tiring and taxing it is on the body to make 3, 4, 5, 6 decisions during a 1500 meter final, during a race, high stakes, high pressure. And all of that, and not only that, going into the race, having to think and tirelessly think about all the different strategies, what might happen in different situations. And I think when you go into a Diamond League, I mean, these guys, surely they just know what they're going to do. It's so simple for them. And no one's pushing, no one's shoving to fight for positions in that first 200. People aren't hassling coming around at 800 because 1, the pace is quick enough. They just don't need to. But 2, they're all happy. They're like, well, if I come 8th, 6th, whatever, I'm getting a massive PB here. I mean, there was guys running national records down in Tichet and Verheiden, Belgium and South Africa, they're running national records coming 8th and 9th in a race. So, they're not going to be hassling midway through. And obviously they can't because they're not fit enough. But for me, the big thing is there's zero decision making in these races.
Yeah, and if not zero, very, very little. I agree with that, mate. And I think the race last night was just perfect. We've seen some great races, I mean, in that sense, for that recently. But I think last night, Habs just sits on the 2 pacemakers. He gets the second pacemaker, takes him all the way to a K, and then he's just racing the lights, and everyone else is just falling in behind. And it really was a perfect example of a race when you're trying to drill a time. And obviously Kip Yegon's trying to do that next week, and mate, I'd have been interested to see how she got on in a race like that. So because that's for me. Obviously we'll potentially talk about that later, but I'm like, that's how to get her to run quick, is get on the back of some men, pacing and really just sitting in there. But look, yeah, I thought it was a perfect race for it, and hats off to the guys because they still went and delivered. But it will be interesting to see. I think for Mills, even though he backs himself as a 15.5 guy, I just think, like, you talk about that decision making, that fatigue. He did mention after the Olympics last year, like, kind of how difficult it was in a way to do both events. And I'm like, will that play into it as well? Because I don't think it's that he can't compete. Like, he's proved to everyone that, look, he's 3:28 guy. Of course he can compete, but focusing on one, is his preparation going to be slightly better? Is his headspace going to be slightly better going into Tokyo? And I think if you're a 3:28 guy in a 5K, you're giving yourself a great chance. And that's what we would say with Jakob. We say that's why he's the best, right? Because he's the best 1500 runner, but Mills ain't too far off now in terms of times anyway.
The difference between Jakob and quite a few of these guys is he has proven that he can make championship winning decisions. Okay, he hasn't done it in the 1500. And actually, for me, he hasn't proven it all that much in the 1500. But the
he's still an Olympic champion, right?
Yeah, but again, in that Olympic final, that was paced for him, by Chariot in 2021. And he actually, I don't feel like he didn't have to do much. He just had to hang in there and just gun him down, which is what he did. Whereas, since that, when he has had to make, clearly the opposition's been a lot better alongside him, he has had to make some some decisions, and he hasn't been able to make the right ones at the right time. So, but the 5,000, he's very good. We see him, and I think we see Jakob indoors time and time again just absolutely nail it. But again, I just think he's just so much fitter than all the guys he's racing against, especially when we see him at like a World Indoors or a Euro Indoors. He's just so much fitter than those guys. So yeah, he does always end up coming out on top. Incredible race, bit of context. By the way, Let's Run have put some good stuff on, love them or hate them. Jonathan Gold is the best journalist in the game, and he is just on it. Like, he's put some good stuff on both of those athletes and where they sit in the top on the all-time list and amongst those guys who have broken 328. I think age-wise is interesting. Habs is going to be 32 next month, and then obviously Koech is 18, and so they're actually, Habs is 5 years older than the next person inside the sub 328 club, and Koech is 5 years younger than the closest person inside the sub 328 club. So yeah, there's a bit of context around their ages. And obviously, yeah, they're the two who obviously don't have any global medals in their locker yet. And Habs, he was Moroccan, changed to France in 2019. And his coach is the same coach that Magalufy had 2015 onwards at Magalufy's career. In Koech, his coach is Baradelli, who obviously coaches Emmanuel Wanyonyi as well, and Sebastian Sawe. So that coach is...
It's not a bad lineup, is it?
Yeah, he's got a pretty good trio of athletes, 8:15 in marathon. Yeah, so there's a bit of that, but that's, like I say, Let's Run, I've got some great info and some really deep insights on these guys as well. So yeah, I recommend heading over there, having a little look at reading up on Jonathan Gold's articles.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's swing across to the women's race, because not as quick in that sense, but pretty good race with a few big names in there that obviously we're very interested in as Brits. Gemma Reekie down in 11th place, but gets a sub 4 3:59. Good to see her in a rare 1500 meters. And then Georgia Hunter-Bell, 3:58, 6th place. My teammate Sarah Healy takes second, but Nelly Chepchirchir takes the win. So what do you think of Georgia Bell's performance? Because I guess on this podcast, that's what we're mainly interested in, right? And particularly, I think at the moment, difficult for her, I'm sure, how she's stacking up against Sarah Healy, who is flying.
Sarah Healy is flying. I think as well, in the men's side as well, and the women's, like, we're still a long, long way from the Tokyo World Champs. And I'd be a little concerned if I was flying right now, if I was an athlete, because, we look at like what happened to Cole Hocker the other night as well. And I actually feel like Cole Hocker is probably just in I wouldn't say a nice spot. He'd probably be wanting to run a little better, a little faster. But yeah, we're going to see all those big guns come out in Eugene next week. But even Georgia Bell, she has last year, I mean, we can't forget how much better her season got every week that went by. And to be honest, her result yesterday, it is low-key irrelevant. Like, she ran She ran a second off the win. And I just think you're a second off the win. Yeah, you come sixth in the Diamond League. The races, like I say, it's paces. She won't read into that too much at all. Sarah Healy, great results, fast close. She ran 14 points something for that last 100. Very, very good close. But again, it's like, for me, that just jumps out in all these races, men's and women's as well. It's just the depth there. Riki was the last person in to break 4 minutes. 11 women break 4. You got 2 French women, 2 Brits, Portuguese, 2 Kenyans, 2 Ethiopians, Irish. So these are all women that, that could well be an Olympic heat. Wouldn't be run that way. But I think the big thing is you just got to look at the depth and just go, wow. And the only thing that's going to separate you from these people is they're all pretty much the same, is when it comes to the World Championships, are you ready to race? Are you ready to negotiate the rounds? Which athlete has the best mentality, the best mindset? Which athlete can deal with the pressure? And then that's it. And I think Georgia Hunter-Bell will back herself 100% when it gets to the championships in 12 weeks.
Yeah. I think you're right, mate. Is there any question over what event or events potentially Georgia Hunter-Bell goes for in Tokyo? Obviously, that medal last year in the 1500 meters, but she has proved time and time again she's a world-class 800 meter runner. Obviously, 157 beats Mora on Sunday in Stockholm. Are there any questions there? Is she thinking, do I go for both? Do I run the 8? I guess the one issue, and I don't know because I'm just speculating, right? One issue is obviously the Keeley factor. Do they in that group even put another athlete in that 800 meters? Is that even an option for her? I don't know what.
I like to think they would put an athlete where they're probably going to be at their strongest. I feel like she's so evenly matched in both events. And actually, I feel like the one thing she has up her sleeve over the 800 is she has gone down. She has run low 350. She has that Olympic medal. You know, that will set her apart next year. Not next year, sorry. That will set her apart come the major championships. For me in the 1500, a lot of these women, yes, they're running fast, but they just haven't got that championship pedigree. They haven't proven they can negotiate semi-finals. They haven't proven that they can really step up in the final and take the race by the scruff of the neck and just, you know, go get on the podium. And I think Georgia Hunter-Bell, albeit last year, was perhaps just a little bit naive, just really enjoying it and didn't overthink it, didn't set any limits on herself, but she went and got the bronze medal. And, you know, a lot of these women, I think they've been in the game a long time, and do they really back themselves to go get the medals? I don't know. So, but the women's 800 is just as deep. I would say the women's 800 hasn't. It's, you know, once Keely opens up, once we see Athing Mu back at her best. I'm not sure if she will be back at her best at all. But, you know, bar sort of the Guma and stuff, the women's 800 is quite wide open. So she might be tempted, Lum. But I still think we'll see her in the 1500.
Yeah. I think for me, she's either doing both or just the 15. I mean, she's going to just do the 8.
This is interesting. The women's 15, though, potentially if you wanted to get a gold medal, Georgia Hunter-Bell wants to get a gold medal. I think she's probably got more chance in the 800 than the 1500 purely because of Kipyegon. So I don't think you're ever winning gold. Let's see what Kipyegon does next weekend. But I don't think you're just not beating Kipyegon, are you? And so gold is kind of out of the question for anyone in that women's 15.
Silver's an upgrade, right? So
silver is an upgrade, exactly.
If you're like, okay, what's the easiest one to win silver in?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but she could win gold. You know, she could, depending on how Keely's coming back from injury and this and that, she could potentially beat Keely at the World Champs.
Well, the 800 is the one I think. If you're a medal contender, it doesn't matter what color you're a contender for gold, silver, or bronze. In the 15, not so.
That was her. Oh, Georgia Bell has done she did do Grand Slam and stuff, didn't she? But yeah, she doesn't do many 8s. So if she did a few more this year, you'd like to think she could get close to 155.
And she's gonna know exactly where Keely's coming from as well. That's where I question. I'm like, okay, where does this come into it? Because she will know. There's no, like, with the other athletes, they're like, oh, how injured is Keely, etc., etc. They don't really know. Georgia Bell will know exactly where Keely's coming from. Come the champs, and there's no way that Keely can pull the wool over her eyes and like blag it, which she could do to other athletes, right?
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. I think that team, M11 track, are going to have some decisions to make, but I'm pretty confident we'll see her in the 1500.
Yeah, for sure. Look, obviously, plenty more races last night as well. Let's scoot over to that men's 5,000. Really goes through 4K at world record pace, ends up in a hell of a box, but does hold on for the win. At one point I was thinking, oh no, the guy's gonna collapse. But yeah, 12:47 still, with a painful last 800 meters and some guys running pretty quick behind him. But mate, fair play to him. What I rated about it was he just grabbed the race by the scruff of the neck, was like, I'm going to get on the wave lights and I'm just going to see what I can do. Super fast through 4K. And then, yeah, it just obviously, as I said, he blows up, but the guys behind him flying to get in there. Obviously, Gracier's got his national record, keeping those French fans happy as well. Nico Young, not as kind of quick as we maybe expected, or not maybe expected, but after his great performance last week, that doesn't really matter for him. I'm surprised he even got himself in there, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he got after it. He was doing a lot of the work. He was pulling blanks through as well, wasn't he, Nico Young? I think he was either like, right, I'm going to try just go quicker than what I ran in Oslo, or I'm just going to blow up. And that was a pretty good run from him. 12:55, considering a week before he ran 12. Do you run 12:44, 12:45? No, but yeah, a week before he was class. Yeah, he was very, very good a week before. But perhaps just showing that, Blanks in theory has actually doubled back and probably showing his 10K class a little bit more, because he's had 2 very, very good runs over the 5K, consistent runs. And so perhaps just showing that actually when it comes to a heat in a final, he's in with a pretty good shot. We saw Mills try and double back and do the 1500 just a few days after. Was a little tired, but then actually he's recovered very well. And Obviously, he runs a race of his life last night over 1500. But yeah, so not really a surprise for any of these guys. But yeah, for me, Al-Bakkali was a great result, 12:55. You know, we saw Gomer as well in a sleeper weight of 7. So it's good to see these two boys getting back. But yeah, France had 3 guys sub 13 in the same race. That is just that is actually seriously impressive for a European nation. I mean, that probably hasn't ever happened before.
They've just seriously turned up to a home diamond.
Guessing, but for a European nation, 3 sub 13 in the same race, never.
No, and that's going to be a competitive.
What do you think about Grecia wearing those dragonflies then? Kipran wearing dragonflies. Hoka obviously still wearing dragonflies.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I thought we'd got past this. I thought that was the...
Also, like, the dragonfly came out, you know, some of the lads made a good point of this. The dragonflies came out, we're talking 5 years ago, mate. They've been out 5 years. How has your brand not been able to make? Kipran, kind of understand, they're slightly newer brand and stuff, but yeah, how has your brand not been able to make a good spike that is legal, like, in 5 years since the Dragonfly has been on the market?
It is crazy, isn't it? Because yeah, I thought we saw it in Tokyo in 2021 where they all wore spikes. Obviously, Kerr wore them as well, and I thought it was like the year after that they released them all, and then we've seen them again, and people have been like, other brands have had their shoes, and we're like, okay, we're back to a bit of a level playing field now. But yeah, like you say, it's not like the Dragonfly 2 has been like a revelation that everyone needs to wear, because a lot of these guys are still wearing. I'm pretty sure Gracia was in Dragonfly 1s last night. Wasn't even in Dragonfly 2s. So yeah, like you say, it's
Hello, mate. I think on a slow-mo, I think he was in some Dragonfly 2 Elites, but maybe he was in ones. Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I'm just like, oh, mate, if you're paying athletes, they're just, all they're doing is putting your vest on. So, because we know the shoes is like the most important thing for these brands. But anyway, yeah, back to the racing. I think what was crazy about Kejelcha, and I hope we see something like this at a major championships. I really do, because he did make a bold move, and it was a crazy move. I think he ran 4 laps. I think he basically ran a 4-minute mile, or 4 minutes 1600. Sorry, because he did 4 laps of 60 in the middle there. One of them was a 59, coming up to like 3. I think it was 3, or was he 4.2k at that point? Yeah, his last 800 was 2:10, so he's had a stinker there. And obviously, you can't blow up that much at major champs. But I love him. I love the fact that, you know, it sort of gets 2.5k into a 5k, and he just starts hammering.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that man is just, he loves it. He gets off the front. He loves to suffer. And I just want to see that style of running at major champs, and just because he blew the field apart. You know, Nico Young and Graham Blanks, had Kejelcha just stayed on those lights and just sort of been clipping off 60 high, 61s, I think they would have held with him. And I think they would have gone on and out kicked him. But it was just, we know how close you are to red line in a 5K. And the minute you throw in a lap which is too hot that late into the race, you pop. And that's what's happened to Nico. I mean, we say he popped, he still held it together, 12:55, still an incredible time. But, you know, he was eaten up by El-Bakkali, Grecia, Tefera, all these guys. And the only one who was able to cope with that was Kejelcha.
Yeah, and it's good to see him testing his limits, because that's how he's going to be able to put something together come to championships, is finding out now, okay, how quick can I go? And maybe if he'd gone half a second slower or done it 1 lap later, that doesn't happen to him, right? And I think that's what's interesting, is seeing athletes at this time of year, like you say, obviously with plenty of time before the championships, really working on, okay, well, where's my body at? What can I really withstand? When can I make a move? How hard can I go? Yeah. So that come the 5K, we don't see a jog fest, and we don't see him just pissing around for 10 laps and then having a bit of a kick, and we do see someone grab it by the scruff of the neck. And yeah, Kejelcha for me is just, I think they said on comms as well, feels like he's been around for absolutely ever.
Yes.
And he for me,
World Finals with Farah.
Yeah, he just reminds me of that old generation. I think what me and you consider to be, I guess, the end of the golden generation, just because of the age we are. I think in terms of growing up, like watching the sport and seeing him do well is always.
Men's 800, just quickly. I mean, that was an event which was early on in the Diamond League, and yeah, we've glossed over it because there were just some incredible performances across the board. But Max Bergen, another 153.6. There's one in 142. Again, it's just showing that the men's 800 is a hard one to get right. Hoey in second, Bryce Hoppel third. One for those guys running consistent 143s. Hoppel, that's a much better performance from him. 143.1. So he's now rounding into shape. And Mark English, another 143.9. I mean, he's having just a fantastic season. So these 800s continue to impress. It wasn't a night for them to run crazy quick. And I think there was no one. I look at that field, and actually no one in that field is capable of running the world record. You need Wanyonyi or you need A. And look, the others are going to run fast.
Yeah.
But
I think you're bang on, mate. I thought Tui, though, great run from him and backing up some good performances that he's had over 1,500 meters recently as well. So he's one to look out for. Come a championship, but again, a long way out. I think Max Bergin, another 143. I think it's promising to see him just like consistently racing, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, because when you pull
one
that
thing that we haven't seen much of in previous years, and if he can keep going and really like actually crafting a proper season out this year, I have no doubts that guy will go quick and he'll make a big jump. So good to see. That pretty much wraps up Paris. There are a few results from Stockholm that we haven't really chatted about as well. Obviously, that women's 3K, Ines Fitzgerald 8:32, closely followed by Hannah Nuttall in 8:33 as well, and great runs over 3,000 meters for them too.
Yeah, and did Fitzgerald come? Fitzgerald came
third place as well. Yeah, so third for Ines and
top three
fourth for
as
Hannah
well,
Nuttall,
which is huge. And the way she ran it as well was very, very impressive. She just worked through the field. She did the mills in Oslo. She worked through the field. She knew exactly what pace she wanted to set off at, and picked him up, and just showing a lot of experience. Ines was looking very good in Stockholm, and just excited to see what she's going to go on and do the rest of the summer.
and that's it. Can we blame her for missing the Birmingham Track Festival to go and do that? Maybe
3K is always tough for me. Like, I think I always find that with just all 3K results, you kind of look at them and sometimes they can be a little deceiving. You're just like, okay, well, how does that translate to a 5,000 or how does that translate to a 3,000? And because you do get athletes who can run very, very well over the 3,000. So as good as the time is, which it is incredible, by the way, it's just like, how would I?
I think that's probably more important for Hannah Nuttall at the stage in her career. I think for Ines, obviously for her still being a junior athlete, the 3K is designed as that transition event. Doesn't matter so much, but obviously for Hannah, it's like, how is she going to translate that into a quick 5? Because you're like, well, if you run in 8:33, and we know she's quick, right? We know she can close, and it's another great example of that. She's going to have some confidence for that, but we're like, okay, where are we going to see this kind of a real serious 5K time from her that we know she's capable of next?
Yeah, I totally agree. Nearly see her go and smash a 5, and same with Ines, to be honest. Yeah, Stockholm. Anything else from memory happening? I mean, Ellie Storner ran another really good steeple in Stockholm as well, I think. Grabbed that PB.
And raced again on Tuesday.
Again, Parvanomi. I mean, she's had a busy schedule, and I think that's good practice for her because she was solid in Parvanomi, backed it up. But doing 2 steeples is much like doing 2 5Ks in a short period of time. It's very, very difficult, and you've got to be seriously strong in order to run your best on that second race. And I think that's that's the question marks over how well you can do in the final, isn't it? I've got the way Elise is running it. I back her to make a world final over the steeple.
Yeah, she's gonna be there or thereabouts. And I think what was nice about that Parvanomi run, obviously the time, not setting the world like 9:25, but third place. And then you mentioned it with Ines as well. I think sometimes we gloss over that. We gloss over getting these kind of non-official podiums, right? And no medals are on the line, but if you're consistently getting yourself in the top 3 at open meets or diamond leagues or wherever it is, Parvanomi, that's how you're going to start getting through those rounds, is consistently just being an athlete who places highly. And that's what Georgia Bell did last year. And she took it all the way to the Olympic final. So, I mean, few other results, obviously in Parvanomi as well. Reve, Walcott Nolan, 4:02, second place. Erin Wallace, third place in 4:03 as well, over 1,500 meters. So decent enough runs from them. The 5K boys struggling again. Westy 13:27, Roy Leonard 13:30.
I think Westy,
it's hard, isn't it? It's so hard at finding the 5Ks. I feel like you've got, none of these races aren't decent, but I think we said it the past few years. Do we expect these guys to run quicker than the shot they get in Boston, right?
No, no. I think it was actually paced really well at 5K. I think Westy was ill. I saw, so that's unfortunate for him, and I'm sure he'll get another one somewhere. Leonard, so it really wasn't that bad of a result for Leonard. Like, I think this is the problem when you run such a great time on the roads and stuff is 27.4, you have these expectations of, well, I should be able to, just breeze a 13:20 if I can do that. But, still, I think for someone like Leonard, it's like you probably need to see he's going to run that fast over 5,000. The way the 1,500 is at the moment, you really need to see that 1,500 come down. His performance in that, I mean, his training partner B went around 3:37 in a week, those sorts of times. So, and Leonard is more of a 10,000 meter runner. So I didn't think it was a bad result for Leonard at all opening up his season. But I think as an athlete and us in the sport, just because of what he's done already, you tend to have really high expectations for the guy. So when you see him toe the line, you're like, well, unless he runs 13:15, that's a bad run.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think as well, obviously we didn't see him on Saturday. And I think we're thinking, okay, well, and look, it's his season. It's like up to him and his coach. But we're thinking, okay, if we don't see you at the 10K on a Saturday, because we want our best athletes in it as fans, we want to see those matchups. We're like, okay, give us something special kind of later then, because he's obviously missed that 10K, the British champs, on Saturday, and so we're like, okay, well, give us like a reason if that makes sense, which is unfair, I think sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Tom Keane ran 3:38. As well, so he struggled in that 1,500. It was a good 15, won by Gilmer's brother at the front, 3:33. And my big bro, yeah, mate, he impressed me. 8:25 for him. Nice season opener. He's had a baby last week, so he's a dad now, and flew himself out.
Strength,
huh?
He's got that dad strength now.
Well, they do say, dad strength. Yep, so he's got that dad strength. But he's just been training steadily, nothing too crazy, and just thought he'd dip his toe in the water. So, yeah, he was pretty happy with that. So I'm excited to see what he can maybe do the rest of the season if he wants to race again. We'll see. But the winner, by the way, Frederick Rupert, who was very impressive. By the way, in the steeplechase, his last lap was very, very good. I think he ran a 58 last lap in a steeple, 8:10. His training partner, Bevendorf, German teammate, massive PV for him. Yeah, 5 men break the world standard as well. Canadian, Luxembourg. Yazid from Morocco. So it was a very, very good steeple in Parvenemi.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that pretty much wraps us up from races around the circuit. Obviously, we've had a few kind of local meets, but in terms of influencing, I guess, the teams or the top end, nothing really to report there. But look, mate, another great week. Obviously, we've got Kipyegon's attempt coming up next week, and we've seen from last night that Paris track is absolutely rapid. How are you feeling now, mate? What are we, a week out? I just want to check the date.
Well, I still think it would be unbelievable if she breaks 4 minutes. But you've changed your mind. Lum reckons that Kipyegon will break 4, and his...
No. I've not changed my mind, right? I've started to think it's more possible. I still don't think she does it, but I've been for the past, I don't know when they announced it, 6 months, I've been thinking there's absolutely no way she's going to be way off and run, I don't know, 4.8, right? Basically, my thinking is...
I need to watch the documentary. It's come out, apparently.
Yeah. Basically, I was just thinking about more and more, and I was just thinking about the amount of high schoolers in America that we see, the amount of... and
this is Lum's reasoning. He said...
Well, trying to be respectful here as well. The amount of guys that have broken 4 minutes who, in comparison to Faith Kipyegon, and not taking, obviously, whether they're men or women or whatever, just in terms of athletes into it, I'm like...
You're saying the people, there's blokes that have broken sub 4 minutes and they are nowhere near as talented, they're nowhere near as professional as Kipyegon. And that's a fair comment because obviously they're not.
Yeah, it's a fact. Yeah.
4 minutes in the men's rankings is God knows where. And, your reasoning is if American high schoolers can do it, surely a sort of professional woman can with all the science and, someone of her ability. And that is kind of a fair argument. But I think the key difference between a man and a woman is any guy who breaks 4 minutes, right? They could probably drop. I mean, there's 2 ways they come at it, but the ones you're talking about, the kind of American high schoolers, this sort of thing, mate, they can go run 50, 51 for 400. no questions asked. And I think, when we see, other sort of, fully grown men break 4 minutes for the mile, that definitely comes from more of a 5K base. And the chances are they're a 13:30 5K runner or somewhere in that region or quicker. And Kipyegon's not that. And she can't go and run 50 point for or 50, 51 for a 400 like an American high school kid can.
No, she can't. But she's the greatest 1500 meter runner of all time. And I'm not saying she's going to do it. I'm more open to the magic of the fact that she might get close. That's all I'm saying. And I think that was one of the things I was thinking about when I was like, okay, yeah, maybe she's got some sort of chance here. And that was my reasoning. I think I was just thinking about, right. I was just thinking about pitching her in a track session, right? I said, if she went and run 10 by 400 in training with a load of guys who run 3:59.9, I'm like, she could hold her own for sure. And we spoke to her on the podcast, right? And I think, look, I definitely urge people to go listen to that. Her mindset, and also just she talks about the training she does with obviously a group with Coach Patrick Sang, right? She's going on long runs with the elite men, not the 3:59 milers. She goes and does training with the elite men. Like this is proper athletes, right? And she goes and trains them every day. She's going to have been helped by them the whole way, right? In this build up, she's going to know where she stacks up in relation to them, not just 3:59 milers, right? And that's who she compares herself, pitches herself against week in, week out. Mate, I'm not saying she's going to do it.
Yeah, no, I know.
I in the past, like 3-4 days, have become more open to the idea that she might get close. That's all.
I'll be stunned. I saw a video flash up the other day of the women's 800 meter world record, that 1:53, and that's now the oldest record in track. And if Kipyegon does this, that will be no doubt one.
No one will ever touch it.
Won't get touched
again.
Yeah. And so when records don't get touched, though, you begin to go, how has someone in 30 years not broken that record? And then you look at, that lady who broke the 800 meter world record, and you're just like, well, I can't even comment on it, but I guess everyone probably thinks the same. But yeah.
It's still absolutely bonkers, mate. And I can't even believe they're doing it.
It would be stunning, and I think it would be almost unbelievable for me.
Hey, we asked her, how quick can you go? She said, Elliot says, no human's limited, so no human is limited. There you go.
Yep.
And I think we'll end there, mate. But yeah, obviously, like I said at the start, great time to be a fan of athletics because so much is going on. We'll be back very, very soon with some guest episodes and also wrapping up some of these crazy meets we've got coming up as well. So thanks for listening to us, and we'll catch you guys very, very soon.